Hi friends, today we are finally diving into Danessa's Lightwork 4 casual video. I just wanted to hop in, share what I love about the palette, compare it to Izamea's Industrial 2.0, share my favorite looks and combinations. Because you know what? This is not a video to make you have FOMO if you don't have this palette. What I like to do now, especially in going against the buying frenzy fray, is to encourage you to go into your collection if you have similar types of finishes, especially my indie lovers out there. I'm sure your collection is chock full of these types of iridescent finishes and multi-chromes. And if you were uncomfortable layering them, didn't know what to do, specifically if you have Lightwork 5 and you had a moment of like, ooh, should I have bought this? I don't know what to do with it. It's a lot. It was pretty. I swatched it in store and it's like, I have it now. What do I do? Maybe this video will help build that confidence, help you dive in and say, okay, let's start with one shade at a time and discover the magic one shade can hold. That's what I think we'll encounter today. So I'll have everything that is on the face down below in the description box if you would like to see swatches, because I had already swatched this in my Beautylish fall gift card event video. I spoke about it briefly in my October favorite, but you'll see the timestamp in the Beautylish video if you just wanted to check out the swatches. And I also have a B-roll demo on that video. This is more so speaking through the actual tutorial and whatnot, and swatches here and there, but not as clear cut as what I did in the Beautylish video. And if it's your first time here, hi, I'm Alicia. That's all I got for you. I love to speak about beauty on YouTube and movement on the Instagram. That's why you see the beauty and movement. But I like to kind of include some exercise, nutrition stuff here and there when I can. Intro out the way, it's time for you to come in a little closer. That's enough. I'll begin with one of my favorite shades. Let's first, however, let me get Linda's, hold on. To the end of time, crease, that is not the name. To the end, eye primer, crease no more. More of a silicone-like feel in terms of the texture. You can use one that has more of a color to it. I'm thinking matte paint pot, Urban Decay eye potion, any of those can work. Please let me know down below if you've already been tinkering in Lightwork 5 with other eye primers, ones that are successful. Please let us know down below. This is the I Am palette where you have I Am, the bottom of the mirror here, and the point is when you do your makeup, you choose whatever shade. I am evolving. I am loved. I am unbreakable. These are great adjectives to help remind you that you are. And also what I appreciate is the overlay has the formula name. I'm sorry if it's hard to see, but the formula name is on top, which I think makes it helpful. And I would suggest you check out Danessa's Teach Me Tuesday video, which hopefully she still has on her Instagram, where she goes over the Lightwork 5 palette for the first time and the different formulas included, which is a bunch, right? Suede Shimmer Cushion Chrome. I'm going in with the Suede Shimmer, and this color here, Unstoppable. This is my go-to shade for when I just want one and done. It is gorgeous all over the lid. And you don't need a matte, in my opinion. If you wanted to dip out 100%, you can. Let me quickly go into Izamea's palette to see if there's something of similar, not of similar texture or color. However, I would go in with this, I would go in with this shade. Again, it's not the same, but I would just go in with it solo, right? Ooh, that's shiny. I gotta give it to Izamea's Industrial 2.0, man. 2.0 One of my favorites for the year. And it's going to be included in that end of year video for sure. But let's return to Unstoppable. And let me go in with my Tauhaus P04. This is a highlighter brush, but see how wide it is? I think ideal for just slapping on the lid, which is what I'll do with this shade. I'm going to cut across first, tap here, get the majority of the color on the lid. I'll also go in with my finger to have more of that intensity show through. But see how the color, or rather the base, is like this maroon shade? It serves well on its own. And to fluff it through the crease, let's choose, I'm going to go in with my Rephr 01 Max because it's flat on both sides, but quite fluffy on the edge. And I think an appropriate brush to use for blending the shade through the crease. Look how lovely that is. And although it might look intense in the pan, alone on the eyes, I think wonderful, right? It's not too crazy for sure. If you were to go into Lightwork 4, that has, I think, the more intense multi-chromes where they have stronger shifts, and also the texture is a lot more sleek, I feel. And because of that, it will look more intense on the lid than this shade does. Let's continue pulling the same shade now under the lash line. I'll pull it all the way through. We can layer something on for sure when we get to building up the look. The Fusion Flakes, I think interesting. I yet have not figured out how the best way to apply these textures, because they are, I think, you know what it is? They're creamier, more so than what's found in Lightwork 4. But I think you really have to work, like you have to work it in order to get that finish, because if you don't, this is how it would look like, right? So I wonder if they're meant to buff so it has more of that high shine finish. I mean, we could experiment on the second eye. I want to continue, however, building the outer corner a little bit more. And with that said, I'll go in with, I'm assuming, I don't know which side is what for these duos here, right? I want to go in with Healed. That's more of this magenta, like a violet magenta, or more violet, I should say. Let's hit that on the outer lid, shall we? I think that'll be a nice addition. And what I mentioned in my October favorites is you have more room in layering with these types of metallic chrome shimmer shades in a way I feel you don't with mattes, because of the shine and also a little bit of translucency. All these finishes can kind of show through each other and not appear heavy on the lid, and naturally create these gradients that I think hard to achieve with just matte. I'm gonna kick off a little bit of that fallout, no problem at all. So isn't that nice to introduce the violet with the warmer maroon shade from Unbreakable? Unstoppable. Ooh, inner corner, I think the Heavenly Halos are lovely. They're more on the translucent side, although they have a lot more color, I think, than the ones found in Lightwork 3, right? Those are pretty, Let's go in with Protected. Protected has that violet shift. And these, I feel, are creamier than the formula found in Lightwork 3. With the large pans on the center. Yes. Isn't that beautiful? That shade doesn't appear as dominant in the pan, but when applied here in this manner, as I like the inner arc thing going on, it's pretty. Inspiring. Inspiring, I feel, can be lovely on top of Protected, just for an extra bit of shine. Isn't that beautiful? It's like a lavender silver. Ooh, pencil brush time for sure, for the precision. Or we could do a little flat definer. Yes, this is from Sonia's Kiyaki set. I want a little more precision here in applying Inspiring on the inner corner. So I don't want it to completely overtake Protected, but I will carry the same shade now onto the inner lower lash line. This is my highlight spot. I just adore these bright shades here on the inner corner of my eye. And I'll also bring in Healed. This is the shade we applied on the outer lid, but now I'll run it across everything we applied prior because I pulled Unstoppable through the majority of the lower lash line, but I think having Healed here over top is a nice move. Okay, we like. Now here's the thing. What I feel is missing from Lightwork 5 is like a glimmer shade. The diamond reflectivity, shining, sun shining on the water effect. That's what I feel this palette has. This shade in particular, let me see here. I think it's Patina. Patina is like a translucent, glassy finish shade that sometimes I like just to tap over everything. Where this is shiny, but okay, let me just show you what I mean. Here's Patina from Industrial 2.0. And because of the translucent base, you can still see the colors from underneath, but see how that introduced a lot more of that glimmer and that fairy dust effect? That's what I feel Lightwork 5 needs. One of these. The shades are lovely, but sometimes I wish I had that translucent base to bring everything together for this wet effect in the end. You know what I'm saying? But this is why I have both palettes. All right, this is why I could use both, and the whole point of having all this darn makeup. What did I say I wanted to do? Yes, centered is the Fusion Flake, but now, okay, so it is rather flaky on the lid. See, I could do this because my lid skin is not super movie, but for someone's lid skin that has a lot more movement, I don't know if this will be a good idea because it got caught on the inner part of my lid and I am pulling on my skin here more than I would like in order to spread the shade. But man, when you get it spread out, it's pretty. I don't think this is the ideal method. Perhaps you have to start with the lighter application so the flakes don't converge on the skin, right? But that's not too bad. I'll keep that as is, and we'll go in now with Unbreakable. Unbreakable is this shade here, and we have a Suede Shimmer, the same formula that we placed first on this eye, as opposed to the Cushion Chrome. You know, I'll go with the Cushion Chrome. Powerful is pretty. I think I applied this all over my lid at one point. Perhaps it was for one of my lives. And the lives I have on my membership channel. I just recall applying one shade from here and just loved its plum effect. It's probably powerful. Let's go in now with something with a flat side but stiffer than my MAC 01. I think that will be Mini 01 if I could find it here. Here we go. This has more pickup and is a little stiffer than Max, which is what I need for a more intense application on the outer lid. And then I'll take the tip of Mini 01 through the crease so we can start building that shading. Slowly building the color here, and I did end up covering a lot of Centered, the Fusion Flaky shade, but it's all right. Let's see here. I could always go back with a little bit more. I do want to introduce another shade on the inner arc. Let's go in with Evolving. I think Evolving is pretty. Or Fearless. Hold on. Let's see what Fearless has. I think that is a shifter shade. Ooh, that's pretty. We gotta go in with Fearless. Going in with my flat definer again. But this time on the inner arc. So that has a copper flip to it, which is beautiful. It's like a green copper type of a flippity flip. And centered again over everything. I want to create a smoother gradient here between the borders, right? So it doesn't appear as blocked out. Using my 01 Max to further fluff out, and this is my Sonia G soft concealer, to push away some fallout, because that's what happens with these fun formulas. Sometimes you just, you have some casualties. It's all right. Lower lash line, I think I want to still commit to Powerful. That's what we applied on the outer lid and crease. That will be our shade of choice here for the lower lash line, and then combining it here with this tail, right? Ooh, that's pretty. Lower inner lash line, the part of my eye that I love, as you know. I think, let's see, Evolving. Evolving is one of the Heavenly Halos that has that green. Placing it here on the lower inner lash line, layering it over Powerful. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. Probably out of all the formulas here, the Fusion Flakes is my least favorite, just because even though it is creamier than what's found in Lightwork 4, I still find it tough to integrate texture-wise, because again, you truly have to manipulate it in a way where it will appear like a shimmer, because if you don't, the flakes are flat and they grip the skin, that I don't think the final product is great from that. So that's my main critique about Lightwork 5, right? I know the flakes, because they're flakes, it will reflect more light because there's a wider surface area particle wise. I just don't think it's seamless in terms of application like the other textures here. But let's apply some lashes, check out the final look, and I'll be right back. Here is round 1 using Lightwork 5, and while I was applying the lashes and looking at Industrial 2.0, I thought, why don't I apply the shades from Industrial and make a comparison in regards to experience. Many of you have compared both palettes, and I tend to lean towards Industrial 2.0 just for the mere practicality and size. I much rather pack that palette than Lightwork 5. It's smaller, and although it doesn't have as many shadows Industrial 2 does as in Lightwork 5, I could still make beautiful looks happen. So you have the close-ups, you've seen them, and again, you have demos from my Beautylish video. Or you know what, I'll dabble in Industrial 2.0, but I want to go in with the greens and the blues, because I feel those are the shades people are not going to use as much, and we gotta use them. So let me take this off, I'll be back, and we'll go into the greens and the blues. Okay. Fresh lids and hopping into Strong. These are my main colors for this round. Strong and Abundant, and I believe those are the whipped powders. With that, going into a flathead brush, I think because I want the pickup in order to carry the color across my entire lid. Worker. You know what? Let me do Jumbo Blender. Hold on. Oh, where's my Jumbo Blender? I know where it is. It's over here. Because that is an undyed goat hair brush, and to clean that would just be not a nightmare, but I'd rather just use an already dyed brush. Pouncing it here on the outer lid and carrying it through the crease. You could already see a prominent blue color, and it already is dominating the lid. If you don't want to go this route, you could use this shade maybe on the lower inner part of your eye as an accent, or perhaps carry the blue through the lower lash line and have that as your pop of color. But for those who are not afraid of shades like these and feel comfortable placing it over the entire lid and carrying it from lash line beyond the crease, then please, by all means, do what you gotta do. I then now want to go in with Brave, because if you haven't noticed, each column is a look. If you need your hand to be held, and I don't say that condescendingly, I say that encouragingly, because all the shades here correspond. If you wanted to just stick to this column, which we can, just so you can see that in action, we'll go in with Brave. That is the shifter, because it is a duochrome, and I think it will be quite lovely now to place Brave on the inner part of the eye, overlapping with Strong. For sure, we'll go in with a shader, and I'll place that first on the inner part of the lid. So this is more like a translucent, but the flakies, or it looks flaky in the pan, it applies more flat on the lid, right? And I also want to place a shifter shade over the whipped powder, because then you'll see that transition going from the more warm blue into the teal, right? Isn't that lovely? Completely and utterly gorgeous. Tapping here to get a really nice application of color. Now Resilient. Resilient is the Heavenly Halo, and we can now place that on the center, right? That's going to bring forward more shine and also add a little more dimension if you didn't want the center of the lid to appear as dark, right? If you wanted more of like that light blue effect. And I think now going in with the Molten Metals, specifically Invincible, that's going to be more of like a, again, it looks flaky in the pan, but it applies more like a translucent shade, if you will. Need a tighter pencil brush for this task because I need the right pickup from the pan. Going in with my J series, my Chikuhodo J series brush. This is a pencil brush, but it's quite stiff, and I think good to now place the color here on the inner lower part of my eye. I just detected some fallout from the blue, dusting that off. Definitely want to go in with Strong now on the lower lash line. I would like that to be the main shade here. And if you are a wearer of liner, please feel free to line with a similar shade or with black on your waterline, right? Returning with Invincible, that silvery shade, overlapping with Strong on the lower lash line to create a cleaner transition there. And I also want to bring in a little bit more of Resilience. That is our Icy Blue Heavenly Halo, the first pan in the palette, and create more of that distinct arc, right? Okay. Okay. Now with the other side of the palette, committing to the greens. I think now I would like to set up a halo eye with the dominating shade being Abundant. That is our green shade, our emerald, if you will. Placing that now on the outer part of the lid as well as the inner, but for that I will need a smaller brush using my Rephr 01 Mini, as I don't want the color to travel too high on this part of my eye. And then we'll continue with the same blend similar to what we had on the first eye. And you most certainly can use a smaller brush. I'm comfortable with my Jumbo Blender brush with these shades. I have to say though, this texture is a little tight, where you have to move the pigments in a way that they don't look gathered or too gathered in one part or in one part of your eye. I'm not sure if that's difficult to understand, but that's why I insist on using a more dense brush, because if I were to use my 01 Max, it's far too fluffy and flexible to move the pigments where I want them to go. And something like the Jumbo Blender or even a worker brush from Sonia's collection, I think more suitable and an easier tool to use with the whipped powders. All right, we got the main stage shade on, and I'm just going now in with Inspiring on the center. Inspiring is this, again, whipped? No, shifter maybe? Or is this the shifter and these are the whipped powders? I don't know. The lavender silver is extraordinary. I absolutely love. But we have enough. Literally, right here. What is that? That is a suede shimmer. That's more like olive compared to the more khaki leaning color of the first shade we applied. We could have that as our lower lash line moment for sure. I'll place it here, all the way across, carrying it onto the outer lid a little bit, and just combine the two shades. Why not? I think that's fine to do, because I want to apply Evolving, our green heavily halo shade, here on the inner arc of the eye, as well as the inner corner. I would like to start the application here and then pull it all the way. You could keep it tighter to the inner corner if you like. If you want that to be your exclusive highlight shade and not have it go beyond that point, up to you. And I'll also have this shade on the lower inner part. Now I understand I went monochromatic with this demo, for sure. If you wanted to incorporate these shades, the blue and the green, in a manner where it's not as straightforward like this, I would suggest perhaps applying the color here, or you could apply it on the outer lid only and then use another shade for your lid, because yes, it might look contrasting, but because they're shiny, I don't think it would appear muddy or too out of place. It will be fun, because this is, I think, what the palette is encouraging you to do. And even if you have to dip out, which is the point, right, why we have all this makeup to mix and matching cocktail, that why not? You most certainly can place another color here. I would actually apply Strong from Lightwork 5 and even this shade here from Industrial. Isn't that pretty? I think that's such a nice combination. Or even the light blue shade. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? The looks are complete. It's time to apply these lashes and I'll be right back. Round 2 is complete. And yes, I love both palettes. I know many like to compare Industrial 2.0 with Lightwork 5, but I wanted to hop back into Lightwork 5 instead of hopping into Industrial 2.0. I could save that for another video, because I wanted to show how, even though the blue and the green can be intense color-wise, I think these eye looks are pretty nice for daily. I know everyone has a different definition of daily looks, what's comfortable for them in terms of what they feel they can get away with, what they feel sits well with them in terms of color intensity and whatnot during the day. I do think the formula, with the exception of the Flaky, the Fusion Flaky, which although can be a little difficult upon the first application, where I feel you have to work the product well onto the lid for it to look more like a shimmer, when you allow it to settle, it has tremendous shine and reflectivity. Although I do stick to my original opinion and observation, where I do wish Lightwork 5 had more of like that glass effect type of a shadow, like what's found in Industrial 2.0, a translucent base one to place over everything without necessarily changing the color, but just adding more of that glimmer effect. But you can argue you might have that shade, and I think it might exist in either 4 or 3. I'm not entirely sure. Or you could hop into another palette like I did with Industrial 2.0 to create that effect. I could even go in with, I think this is, I forgot what the name of this one is called from Industrial 2.0, but I'm just gonna plop it here on the green side, okay, and patina here on the blue side, again for that extra gleam. It's just so lovely. And again, the way these textures flow together, I feel pretty seamless, and in a way that I do think the participant feels confident in using Lightwork 5 more often. I love how these looks turned out. I think they appear amazing. The smokiness that is created just from the colors alone is a standout benefit for me in why I would just stick to this palette and not have to reach for a matte. If you wanted to blend the edges, I would just use a loose powder or something translucent in nature so you don't interfere with the color itself, that you just kind of use that powder to blur the edges if you wanted. But I do feel, again, with the right brush, like the Jumbo Blender, it moves the product well enough where it leaves behind a nice blur, right? So all that to say, I do not regret buying Lightwork 5. I think it is a blast to use, and just like what I discovered with Industrial 2.0, now I'm more encouraged to cocktail these types of finishes together, because to create these shiny gradients, even though they're different colors, to juxtapose them against one another and the final look, it just being not even a color block, it's more so a shiny fairy gradient finish on the eye that I think fairly easy to achieve, and it's fun. It's fun to go this route. If you're like, listen girl, I'm all about the browns and neutrals, give me latte makeup all day, this is not for me, I totally get it. If you wanted to use Lightwork 5 more as an accent palette, you could also use the shades as Danessa has demonstrated on the face, because Lightwork 5 is an eye and face palette. You could use some of those shifty shades on the cheekbones if you wanted to change up your highlighter finishes on the face. I primarily would use it on the eyes because those finishes are quite intense, and I like it to be more subdued on the face and have the show-stopping moment on the eyes. But let me know, fam, what you think down below. If you have Lightwork 5, what you think about it so far, if you haven't dived into it yet, if you've been using the heck out of it, if you also have Izamea's Industrial 2.0 palette, how do you find, do they compare? Have you been combining those two palettes? I will see you down in those comments. And until then, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I will see you on here again with another review tutorial, eyeshadow palette video extravaganza, or maybe we'll take a look at Sonia's new fundamental eye set. I have it, it's been sent in advance, and I can't wait to show you. Take care, and I will see you again soon.